It was a humid December morning when Obudu set out on his mission to the Huli Tribe, in Tari, Papua New Guinea, carrying an unlikely companion under his arm. A live chicken meant to symbolize peace and goodwill during the Christmas season. The chicken squawked and flapped occasionally, but Obudu held it tightly, determined not to let it escape. The Huli people were known for their elaborate ceremonial wigs, painted faces, and strict cultural traditions, especially their beliefs about the separation between men and women. Unaware of the intricate customs he was about to encounter, Obudu trudged along jungle paths, crossed slippery bamboo bridges, and dodged vines that seemed determined to snag his belongings. When he finally arrived at the Huli village, the men gathered to greet him, their faces painted in bright yellow and red with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. The women and children stayed at a distance, whispering among themselves. Obudu beamed with his characteristic enthusiasm, stepping forward to greet them. Before anyone could stop him, he spotted an elderly woman near the edge of the group. "Ah, greetings, Mama," he exclaimed and gave her a warm hug. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Gasps echoed through the crowd, and the men stepped back, some whispering, others staring at him in shock. What did I do?" Obudu asked, looking around in confusion. One of the men, tall and imposing, spoke up. "You touched her. Women are unclean. You must go through purification rites before you can meet our chief." "Unclean?" Obudu whispered to himself, clutching the chicken tighter. Well, this is off to a great start. The purification rites were both bizarre and exhausting. Obudu had to carry heavy stones, balance on one leg while repeating unfamiliar chants, and eat a slimy, unidentifiable food that made him gag. All the while, the chicken squawked indignantly from a basket tied to a nearby post. When the rites were finally over, the villagers declared him clean. Now, he could meet the chief and present his Christmas gift. With the chicken once again under his arm, Obudu was escorted to the chief's hut, a grand structure surrounded by ceremonial spears and drums. "This is it," Obudu muttered to the chicken. "Don't embarrass me." As he stepped forward to present the chicken, the bird suddenly flapped wildly, broke free, and darted into the jungle. "No. Come back," Obudu yelled, sprinting after it. The villagers burst into laughter as he disappeared into the trees. Minutes later, a loud crash and a yelp echoed from the jungle. When Obudu emerged, his clothes were torn, his face was smeared with mud, and his hands were empty. Before he could explain, a tiny boy no older than 3 waddled forward with the chicken cradled in his arms. The crowd roared with laughter, clapping and cheering. Obudu knelt to the boy's level, smiling through his exhaustion. "You, my little friend, are my Christmas miracle." The chief, a towering man with a commanding presence, chuckled heartily as Obudu and the boy approached the gathering. The villagers, still laughing at the spectacle, parted to let them through. Obudu, now humbled and mud-streaked, took the chicken from the boy with a dramatic bow. "Your Majesty," he began, holding up the chicken like a sacred relic, "I present to you the finest peace offering in all of Papua New Guinea." The crowd burst into laughter again, and even the chief could barely contain his amusement. "You are unlike any man we've ever met," he said, his voice deep and warm. "Come, speak to us of your God." As Obudu began sharing the story of Jesus' birth, the greatest gift of all, he noticed how the people leaned in, captivated by his words. Drawing inspiration from his surroundings, he spoke of Jesus' humility, comparing the Savior's birth in a stable to the simplicity of their village. He marveled at their colorful wigs and ceremonial paint, likening them to the joy and celebration the shepherds must have felt when they heard the angel's song. But Obudu's presentation wasn't without its challenges. During his talk, Wali, the village medicine man, interrupted. "What is this story of a baby king? We have our own legends." He proceeded to recount a tale of a spirit bird that once brought peace to their ancestors. Undeterred, Obudu skillfully wove Wali's story into the narrative of Jesus, explaining that the true spirit who brings peace is God's spirit, and his son, Jesus, came to reconcile all people to God. The chief, intrigued, nodded thoughtfully. This God of yours, is he only for your people, or for us as well? Obudu grinned. For everyone, including the Huli Tribe. The next day, Obudu was invited to a traditional men's meeting. Women were strictly prohibited, and the men grilled him on everything from his strange accent to why he didn't have a wig like theirs. "Why do you hug women?" one man asked with a mix of suspicion and amusement. Obudu, blushing, tried to explain, "In my culture we show respect through touch, but I promise, I'll stick to waving here." Another elder, scratching his chin, asked, "If your Jesus is so powerful, can he help us grow our gardens faster?" "Yes," Obudu said with conviction. "But more importantly, he wants to grow your hearts, to give you peace and joy that never end." The men murmured among themselves, nodding. One man quipped, "Maybe he can also help this strange man hold on to his chicken next time." Laughter erupted, and even Obudu had to laugh at himself. That evening, the villagers gathered for a grand feast to honor the Christmas season and Obudu's visit. Wali, still skeptical, sat in the shadows, his face unreadable. But as Obudu shared more about the sacrificial love of Jesus, even Wali seemed to soften. The night ended with the villagers singing in their native language, their voices harmonizing beautifully under the starry sky. Obudu felt tears prick his eyes as he realized that the story of Christmas, the story of hope and redemption, was finally taking root in the hearts of the Huli people. The chief, impressed by Obudu's earnestness and resilience, declared that the missionary must partake in their traditional meal to complete his initiation into the tribe. The crowd erupted in cheers, some clapping, others whispering mischievously. Obudu, sensing that he might have just signed up for something unforgettable, smiled nervously. "Ah, food. That's easy," he said, rubbing his hands together. A few moments later, two men appeared carrying a steaming leaf-covered platter. The tantalizing aroma of roasted bananas and smoked pork reached Obudu's nose. "This doesn't seem so bad," he muttered, eyeing the platter. But his relief was short-lived. Another bowl was brought out, this one filled with a bubbling, slimy green concoction. The crowd's laughter turned into an anticipatory murmur. "What's that?" Obudu asked cautiously. "It is saksek, made from sago palm, a delicacy," explained one of the elders. Obudu peered into the bowl, and could swear he saw something move. He took a deep breath, bracing himself for the challenge.